What's up, Virgo? This May energy is finally waking this person up to the truth about this connection, and it's changing everything. For so long, they tried to fight their feelings, suppress their emotions, and convince themselves they didn't need love. But the question is, why did they fight something that felt so real? Why did they run from the one person who truly understood them? Um, this person is going through a major awakening right now. They're starting to see that every time you tried to guide them, love them, or help them grow, it came from a pure place. Um, this person can't stop thinking about you, but why are you everywhere for them now? In their dreams, their thoughts, their quiet moments, why does your energy keep pulling them back? And now, they're realizing the fear of losing you is greater than the fear of changing their entire life. So trust your intuition because somebody is preparing to take a leap of faith for love. And let's get into your reading.
Okay, I feel like your person is really want to make you an offer, but they're simply not in a position to do that. And they're asking that you try and see both sides of this situation because they know that you're very hurt by them not coming forward and not making some kind of offer about, what can happen in future between you two even. They're just not discussing relationships with you. I feel like they're on this inner journey for sure, and they're very wrapped up in their own darkness. They're not seeing the opportunities that are being presented because they're closing out this healing cycle. They're still within the cycle of healing, and they're really trying very hard to bring themselves back into balance. So they've been on this inner journey. I feel this person. They've been walking very withdrawn, not just from you, but I feel from the world in general. Their emotions are very out of balance. They don't know how to communicate their truth, but I do feel that this person knows the truth. We've got the Six of Wands here, which is, some kind of loving victory. I love that there's a rainbow in this card. I do feel that they know the truth, they're just not ready to speak it. They know that you're their soulmate, but they don't trust that they can have this happy union with you. They're so wrapped up in their pain, so self-absorbed in their own thoughts, and so focused on this inner healing that they can't really see the wood for the trees at the moment, is what I'm guessing. And they're not giving up. I feel like they probably have been communicating on and off, and they want you to know that they're really sorry because they know that you deserve more. So I'm hearing, I'm not good enough, and rejecting you is actually protecting myself. This person is probably in a dark night of the soul, and I feel like they flit in and out because they don't want to fully let you go. It's almost like they're trying to keep you warm, but this is really distorted emotion. With this Queen of Cups energy here in reverse, that it's like they do the bare minimum to keep you hanging, and they know that's wrong. There's a tremendous amount of regret and shame coming through in these feelings, but they are releasing codependency. They know that and I feel like this person has previously been in a karmic relationship and probably isn't now. They've released that because they're starting to understand that they need to be in a relationship that serves their highest good. They want you to know that you're beautiful and magnificent, you're unique, and you're enough. This rejection wasn't about you, it was about them and where they're at, and this need to be on this inner journey right now. And as I said, the self preservation is needed to store energy because they're in such a dark place. They just haven't got a lot to share, with this bear. I'm feeling in hibernation. And even this black egg, as I said, I don't know what the meaning of this is in the book, but this to me is a dark night of the soul, is what I'm feeling very strongly. It's like they're being incubated. They're hibernating like a bear, they're being incubated right now, and, they're surrounded by this light and all this beautiful pink energy, but that itself is contained within darkness. This person could be going through a really rough dark night of the soul, and of course, we've got a wolf here, which is also an animal of the night. There's a lot of orange and yellow here, which are the colors of, being triggered to take action. And I feel like this action they take, as I said, it's just enough to kind of keep you around, is what I'm feeling really strongly. They're just trying to keep you around because they're so frightened to lose you. But they know they can't offer you union. They can't offer you a real relationship right now. They're too anxious. They're too wrapped up in their own pain, is what I'm hearing now. This person, they're also really trapped by their own self-limiting beliefs, and this is an ongoing cycle. And they understand now that, we've got transcendence here. They need to transcend those limitations of the mind. They need to get through this period of dark healing. This person probably doesn't go out a lot. We've got home and sadness. I feel like they want to come home to you. I mean, in this card, this lady is lovingly reading a letter. There's a green pendant hanging from her hand, and she's wearing this blue dress, which is the color of truth. And we've got the truth card here. As I said, I do believe this person knows you are the truth. They know that you are their soulmate, their true love, but they're just not in a position to offer you to come forward with this offer right now. I feel like when they do come forward, it's flirty or fairly platonic, sometimes cold. I don't think they're able to express any emotions, so they're very much giving you the impression that they don't care, is what I'm hearing. This is probably what you're thinking from this person, that they don't care, that they don't have feelings, but that's not true. They're just really trying so hard to bring themselves back into balance. I'm hearing this transformation has been so, so very difficult for them, and they're really trying to ground this new understanding of your connection because the spiritual nature of it is overwhelming for them, is what I'm hearing. They need to find the power to walk that truth, and their issues of self worth really cloud their judgment because they don't believe that they have anything to offer you. But they have worked so hard already, as I said, they released some kind of codependent, toxic situation. If it isn't a third party, it's some other kind of karmic circumstances, such as addiction or just situations that weren't healthy or good for them. They're letting that go now, and they know that they need to, consider things in a much more measured way before they have another relationship. They know that they need to choose relationships that are going to serve them for their own highest good and that they can give in equal measure. They feel very, very sorry and sad. I'm getting that this person, they really want to be with you, but they just don't know how to express themselves. They're just trapped in this. As I said, this is a period of hibernation. This is a period of them having to retreat. And I feel like they just come out of the closet or come out of the woodwork every now and then. For some of you, it is they're coming out of the closet. For some of you, there's a same sex connection here that this person hasn't faced this shift in their sexuality. But for many of you, it's about coming out of the woodwork and just throwing you crumbs because they're not ready to bake the whole loaf with you. You know that they swing between this tremendous anxiety, which is really pain from triggers. This is old wounds they're working through, but they don't have that context or clarity yet. They don't understand they don't understand what triggers are. And as I said, there's a tremendous amount of emotional imbalance here. The emotional energy and the tone of it is really distorted. And I feel like this person watches you on social media or perhaps even at work and, they're pretty jealous. They're kind of envious and sort of inspired all at once because they've really put you on a pedestal. And so they just don't feel good enough. And sometimes, they wish you weren't so great because they feel like they can never live up to what you deserve. So this person is definitely feeling less than worthy, very, very sorry, very, very regretful, very, very afraid, very scared of change. But there's powerful emotion under the surface. And I really feel like, I mean, this buffalo here with this 10 of swords, this healing card, one of the swords cuts right through his eyes. And I'm feeling like, this dark night of the soul, this deep depression or state of huge worry and anxiety that this person is in. It's warped their whole perspective of what is, and they've gone on this inner journey, to try and get to know themselves, to bring themselves back to a place of balance. But it's like, I mean, all the cups are broken in this one. It's like they feel there's no way back. As I said, there's a lot of limitations of their own mind interfering with this connection right now. But this person cares very deeply. They just don't know how to share it. And we have got the 2 of cups and the 10 of cups come up. These are both union energies, but these cards have blocks. These options have blocks for them. It's showing us this is what I want, but it's not what I can offer right now. And as I said, there's a lot of shame surrounding that. They swing between hope. There's like this little light inside them that they can just about grasp, and it's you. It's you that gives them this light, this feeling of hope that even though they can't grasp it and feel it, and it's not tangible enough for them to really, have a grip on it being okay, it's just this optimism, just enough to keep them going because this person really is in a dark place. We've got date inside, but look at this card of hope. This is love. This is the color of green, but she's surrounded by darkness. And at the center of our heart space is just this little tiny light, that helps them feel loved. It helps them feel that it, love could be theirs again, but it's so hard for them to hang on to that because they really are in this really dark, dark place. I mean, dead inside. This is just like the void. It's just this feeling of everything being hopeless. And it says here, the distance between us, it's killing me. I feel like this person really feels you close on a spiritual level as well. The physical distance is hard, but they feel really lost at sea without you. This woman here is actually floating on a suitcase in the water, and these choppy waters, there's a storm brewing, and this train is shooting past. This person feels like life is happening without them, and they're just stranded, lost at sea, that they just can't do what they want to do. And as I said, with this home card and this sadness, I feel like this person doesn't even get out much, that they're hibernating. It's like an egg being incubated. So they're really feeling lost. It says here, I'm waiting for the right time to be transparent with you. They want to come forward, but a lot of this is to do with the divine plan and divine timing. What's really interesting about this rose, this is number 6, 7, and 8. So there's a beautiful progression here from, waiting for the right time to come forward, 7 being, the number of the divine, of spirit. This is also Cancer energy. We've already had Cancer energy out. This is like the Chariot. This is that just powerful spiritual force that drives us forward, but the timing isn't right. This is all about divine timing before they can say yes to transformation. You've got this butterfly, which has come out of its cocoon now, and it's facing this sunrise, this new dawn. There's a butterfly here also, this symbol of transformation, of coming back into balance, of, being reborn again from that egg. So they're just not quite ready. And I feel like the divine plan is also reminding you here that it's just not enough. That the healing that's going on needs to continue, that there's so much work that you need to do as individuals as well as your person. But they do know that this is a soul connection. So they know that this is a soul connection or a twin flame connection, but this is what makes them run. It makes them scared. The intensity of it triggers this rejection in them, this fear of, what if I get it and then this person discovers who I really am, because they're not their true self right now. And, this narcissist energy, I feel like this is their ego. I'm picking up with this, that there are, there's fears in their ego that are keeping them trapped. You're not good enough, you're not good enough at all. You can't You're not going to keep hold of this person. They might think they love you, but once they know who you really are, once the mask is off, you're just gonna lose them. You're gonna be rejected. So, they've run because their ego is blocking them from having what they want. We have got awakening here, and then the covenant, which is a number 11 card for me. It's like that soul contract agreement, but they're saying no to it now because they need to wake up. I need to have this rebirth. And I feel like they judge themselves very harshly. This is part of their healing, to really look within. And it's really good that they've developed the ability to do that, because I feel like their ego self was blocking them from identifying their own failings. From really acknowledging where they've made mistakes in previous relationships, perhaps, that the ego is dissolving and just lingering when they're facing their own judgment, which is what awakening is. It can be very painful, but they're also judging themselves very, very harshly at the moment. They haven't yet brought that into balance, so they're saying, I can't do this right now. I feel very strongly. I know this is a soul connection, but that just terrifies me, and I can't be in this energy. I can't fulfill this agreement we have to come into union right now. I'm saying no to that now. And this is an 8 number. This is the same as the 8 of cups, the energy of needing to continue on their inner journey. That's the number 4. So this person definitely feels very passionate about you. So they're trying really hard, is what I'm hearing, to get out of this emotional slump that they're in. They're being really creative about how they approach this. They're trying to find what works, what is the perfect solution for getting myself out of this rut, is what I'm hearing. And, how do I bring myself back into balance, back into harmony, back to a place of stability so I can be good enough? So, this is their focus right now. I don't think they're making fabulous progress, but they're focused on it. They're trying really hard and they just don't have the answers yet. There's a lot of passion, but I feel like it's repressed because of some kind of hearing sexual dysfunction. And this really makes them feel trapped and even more ashamed and not in control and, again, not good enough. They really feel rejection because of this also. Like the kind of intimate relationship they want to have with you, they just feel like they can never live up to this fantasy they've created or that you've created, perhaps. Perhaps you've really expressed how passionately you feel about them and they've got some kind of performance anxiety or dysfunction. This could be rooted in some kind of sexual trauma. It might just be because of their depression, but this also makes them feel trapped and is stopping them from coming forward, even, for that kind of physical relationship that they just don't feel able to offer. They really want you to be patient while they work through these cycles. They want to be able to take off that mask and show you who they really are, but they need to love themselves more before they can do that. They're not ready to do that. They're not ready to do that. They're afraid that you won't love them as they are when you get to know them better. And I'm feeling like for some of you, you won't have perhaps spent that much time with this person, even though the connection's deep and intense. They've not given too much of themselves away. They've not really let you in, is what I'm hearing. So the higher self is saying, I need to learn to love myself. I need to, this egg needs to crack. I need to be reborn. I need to step into the self love so I can have the confidence to come forward without that fear of being rejected. They need to accept themselves and they need to learn to accept the things they can't change. This is about balance, bringing their world into perfect balance without judgment and forgiving themselves. And I feel like they want your forgiveness as well. They know that you harbor a lot of resentment for them. Their higher self is reminding you that, this does block the flow of love. This doesn't allow either of you to heal. There's a lot of purple and orange in this card, which is enthusiasm for spiritual connection, is what I'm hearing at first. That they're feeling much more connected spiritually. And I feel like this person is yeah, look, we've got the cosmic egg, so that really is beautiful. We've got the black egg here, and this feels like, as I said, I don't know where these come in the book, but this feels like a progression of this. The snake is a symbol of rebirth, and this egg isn't black, it's the cosmic egg. So this person's having a spiritual rebirth. We've seen this with judgment, and right now it triggered a dark night, and that egg hasn't quite hatched yet, but they're very connected on an astral and psychic level. I believe they're developing that level of spiritual awareness, and they must be if they've identified that. You are a soul connection. The gazelle, the female deer, they feel so vulnerable and emasculated. If this is a masculine or a male, they're feeling very vulnerable, very emasculated. And of course, the gazelle runs, it's timid and afraid, it's prey. And you've got all of this orange and yellow, these are triggers. And I do believe this might be the sexual triggers as well, this kind of dysfunction we talk about that makes them feel really emasculated if they are men. And we've got another buffalo. We had the buffalo come up in the other one. I did read about this card last night. I can't remember entirely what it said, but the buffalo to me, they've got such gentle faces, but they're such sturdy animals. And there's all of this pink and purple in the background with this thunderbolt. This is like triggers and signs and synchronicities from spirit. And I feel like they're standing firm and accepting these spiritual truths now, is what I'm hearing for this card. They really are starting to understand the spiritual nature of this connection. And we've also got the crow, and the crow is holding the egg. The crow for me, I honestly don't know the traditional symbiology of the crow. I'm hearing that this is representative of their pessimism. And it's representative of them being afraid to actually let their ego go and fully embrace spiritual awakening because they fear that it could all just be some bad dream or bad omen, that something so wonderful and lovely couldn't really happen to them. So that this is blocking them from fully moving forward. We've got the cobra. They're mesmerized by you. I feel like they're absolutely mesmerized by you, but they're also scared. They don't know if they can trust you because their heart's been hurt. So, a lot of really deep seated fear and very limiting beliefs in them. And the fox, they feel like they need, and this is all yellow, this is solar plexus stuff. This is that, heavily triggered energy. This is someone that feels like they can't just allow the energy to flow naturally. They have to be in control. They have to plan. They have to be strategic. They can't just let themselves go. They have to premeditate, rethink, replan every move. They just don't feel like they can let themselves go and trust right now. So this person's just not ready for you. They're not ready for themselves. They're in a really dark place. And following on from that energy of fear and hesitation, let's look deeper into what they are actually doing while they are in this dark place. I want to see what is happening in their heart space while they are keeping their distance. We need to see what specific wisdom they are trying to gain during this time of solitude. I am channeling. Normally, when I channel, I don't actually stop and listen. It's kind of like inspired thoughts, but we're just moving at a very gentle pace today. There's obviously some really heartfelt messages here for you that they want me to communicate properly. We've got wisdom, guidance, no limitations, and ascension. So this person's been very wrapped up in themselves. They've been really wrapped up in themselves. This is Four of Cups. This is not identifying or not being able to embrace any opportunities because they're so focused on their pain. And we've got, in this card, I love these cards. You've got this funny little turtle creature, and there's 3 cups here. The dolphins balancing that cup here. They aren't right cups, but it's really focused on these cups are they're sinking. The cups, it's lost. So this could be a third party or karmic situation this person is either still involved in or they have lost and they're still grieving. But I do feel like they've been on this inner journey with the 8 of Cups. This is about, going away. I need to come back to where they began. But they need to do a lot of deep inner reflection, a lot of deep inner work so they can arrive at this 9 of Cups of self-fulfillment. So there's a beautiful progression in the energies in this row going that way. But coming down this way, I really feel like they have surrendered to these changes that have been presented to them by this Scorpio energy. They really have. They're learning to forgive themselves. There's a lot of resentment blocks that have been holding them back, not just for themselves, but for these other relationships, these things that aren't working out. This person just feels like they've ruined their life. They've made so many mistakes, and they're just beginning to release those blocks of resentment, allowing love to flow again from within. It needs to flow from within. This card says, I'm learning the endings are merely new beginnings. And I feel like, this is the conclusion that they're beginning to reach. They're surrendering now to what is. This is surrendering to a new perspective that actually the ending was brutal, but it served them. With this card across the top, growth, I grew up. I want to expand my consciousness and awareness. This person wants you to know that, they have got really deep feelings for you, that those feelings have continued to grow within them. We've got the King of Cups here, and the King of Cups has huge emotional intelligence and emotional depth, and they love very, very deeply. And there's a lot of beautiful cards come up in this reading for you. We've got the Ace of Cups, which is just overflowing with love. And we've also got the Two of Cups, which is a union card. This person wants you to know that they can't give you this right now. They need this time alone because they're bringing themselves back into balance. They're in this hermit energy, and in this card, it's quite beautiful how it's depicted. You see this knight going away on his horse, and there's a young girl kind of waving him off with her handkerchief, all sad. And he's kind of saying, I'll be back, but for now, I need to be alone. I need this solitude. With temperance and the hermit, this is really about learning to fill your own cup, to give yourself that love. And that's what this Ace of Cups is about. This is about coming into self-love. And of course, we've got the 9 of Cups here, which is that self-fulfillment and emotional balance of being confident in your independence, of knowing that you can give all yourself all of that love that you need and of healing, recovering from the heartbreak. And I love this 3 of Swords because the swords pierce this cake, and it just makes me think, you know what? I thought this healing was going to be really hard, but actually, it's a piece of cake. I'm healing my heart, and it's easier than I thought it was going to be. It's still been brutal, but I'm seeing the light now. But there is a lot of anger and resentment for self from this person. I feel like they have a very spiritual connection to you. This root was really interesting. So you've got Scorpio energy with this. She's a very, very psychic sign. Scorpio loves anything occult or esoteric. And the Queen of Wands, of course, is the Queen of Fire, the Queen of Spirits. She's Pisces, Aries energy. She's got all of that beautiful empathy and love, but she's also got that fire in her belly, that spiritual fire. And the High Priestess is also, Pisces and the Psychic card. It's an interesting image in this set because you see a woman looking into the mirror and she's actually seeing her child in the mirror. And I'm hearing that this is how you make them feel, that kind of joyful innocence and purity of heart that they remember feeling as a child. This is what you mirror back at them. There's a deep, deep psychic connection here. And I feel like this person is very comfortable not being around you while they're in this kind of the zone of the bear. This hermit energy of hibernating. There are a lot of similar energies here to the previous messages, so if this part is resonating for you, you might want to watch the earlier part because I really feel like this person is also in retreat. They've not been honest with you. They know that they need to speak their truth and they've run away. They've been too scared to do that. They've been very indecisive and afraid. The 2 of Swords obviously is a progression to this 3 because they've been afraid of being rejected and hurt again, but they're building up strength to come back toward you. This hermit is temporary. That the whole purpose of going within is so that they can bring these 2 cups back together. But first, they've got to embrace their own cup, but they need to build up their strength to be able to complete this healing cycle. And they're starting to see all of this pain that they've been through. There's an opportunity for their expansion rather than, you know, I feel like they've come the wheel is at hand in terms of them being able to accept and observe some of the lessons that were presented. So even though it's been really painful and they've resented it for so long, they're now, okay, well, at least I can grow through this. I'm expanding my consciousness and my awareness. I'm seeing these problems and this pain. There's an opportunity to expand, but you make them feel like they're not alone. They really trust your wisdom. I feel like they really see you as this very spiritual, very wise, very just very connected to spirit. Just, they see you as like a teacher or someone that inspires them to be better. Like a celestial being, it says here, but this does trigger their self-worth because they feel like you don't have limitations and they have limitations in abundance. And this is what makes them so indecisive about coming forward. But I really do feel like this person has gone to ground with this earthworm energy. We've got the fire, and they're facing a lot of triggers, a lot of resentment. You know, these are harsh words spoken. The fire ant stings. And I feel like whilst they're in this energy, this dark energy, that's why they kind of hermit themselves because they don't want you to see this part of them. But they know that you're their soulmate, and we've got this wolf energy. This is a very nocturnal energy. Both of these cards have full orange and yellow. These are very painful triggers, and we've got the sexual arts here as well. This person, they know that you've got a passionate, deep, intense soul connection, and I feel like they are working towards resolving that sadness. This is number 5, which represents, some kind of cyclic change. So they're very clear that they need to change themselves, but they don't want to burden you with that. And they don't know how to be honest with you about their feelings. They're afraid to do that at the moment. They were afraid to do that, so building up their strength. The gazelle came up in our last reading, and this card, in the strength card, this woman is embracing the gazelle. Now, I interpreted gazelle as your person feeling so vulnerable. Look, they're in this dark, dark woodland, and the gazelle is prey. It's a very timid, fearful animal. but they're being embraced by this beautiful feminine energy, and I really feel like you do give them strength even when you're not around. That they draw strength from knowing that you've got their back. That whilst they're in this very fearful, frightened energy, frightened of being vulnerable, this comes up under the Two of Cups as well. They really respect and love that about you, that you make them feel held and comfy, is what I'm getting. Not ready for what you have to offer. I've got ready to take chance, illumination, running away. There's those gazelles again, balance, following my heart, synchronicities, emperor. This is really similar to the first part. I really feel like this person is also in retreat. Inner journey, there's the harmony again. Cathedral, spy. So they're not ready. They're just not ready for what you're offering. They need to bring themselves back into balance. And we've got a 4, 5, and a 3 here. And they're saying that your perspective is different from theirs. So, you see this as being so easy. I love you, you love me. Let's just do this. But they're just in such a dark place. They don't feel like they can give you everything you need and everything you want. They don't feel worthy. I feel like they're waiting for this wake up. They're waiting for this inner journey to be complete so they can follow their heart. But right now, they need to find their inner light. They need to take a chance on themselves. They need to create this new beginning for themselves. But that illumination, that truth is being illuminated. They're definitely aware of the spiritual nature of this connection. Because again, we've got illumination, which is awakening. We've got synchronicities, which is a number 6 card. This is synchronicities pertaining to love. And we've got the cathedral card, number 5, which is about high learning. It can be about marriage, but it's also about change. And I feel like they desperately want to step into the light. This is a progression. This is a number 10 card, from that hermit energy, from spending that time in solitude and working through their problems. They step into the light, but right now they are running away, but they know that they're your emperor. And we've got the social spy here. This person is watching you. They can't stay away from very long. They may be silent, and I do feel that there's probably no communication or very little communication from this person. That's really not indicated in this reading. So, they're watching you all the time. They watch you from a distance. Oh, I'm getting that they get really jealous and worried that you're going to find somebody else and that this is the main reason they watch. They think they might give up on them. I don't want you to give up. They know that you're life partners. You do mean the world to them, but they're just dead inside right now. This is dark night of the soul. You know that spiritual awakening is coming, but they're on their way there. Again, I know that you're my soulmate, but no, I'm not ready for this yet. There's too much doubt and pain, fear of rejection. But again, we've got the high priestess energy. This person connects to you on a deep spiritual level. And I feel like this is why they're so comfortable with not being around you, because they feel that connection with you very deeply, even when you're not there, is what I'm hearing. I've got to learn to love themselves first. They want to be able to tell you what they really mean and what you really mean to them in their heart space, but they just don't feel able to do that right now. Again, that's the number 9. That's more higher energy. They're trapped in this cycle of doubt. And again, we've got procrastination, just massive indecision that they're feeling, and they're just so afraid of rejection. They're afraid of you rejecting them. There's a powerful chemistry between you, and they want to bring that into balance. They know that they're sabotaging themselves. And their greatest fear is that you will just give up and you'll move on with someone else. And I feel like this eats them alive. This idea that they're kind of, ruining it for themselves, but I feel like they are powerless to come forward right now. As I said, they're in this bear energy. They've gone to ground, but this doesn't mean that they're never going to come out. At some point, they're going to come out of that energy. At some point, that strength is there. They need to find their peace. They're trying to focus on the lighter side of life, and they want you to try and see the situation from both sides. They see themselves as a massive failure and not good enough. For no amount of you telling them they're good enough is going to sink in until they feel that in themselves. They've got to be able to say that to themselves. I am good enough, and that's what self-love is. But this doubt, this is what sabotages them. This fear and doubt that gets in the way, they blame themselves like they're not accepting responsibility fully for what's happened, but they're so grateful to you. I feel like they're surprised you still care. And every day that goes by when you're reassuring them of your presence and love, they're very, very grateful and appreciative for that. So we've got the dragonfly, and I feel this is skimming the surface of the truth in emotion. They're not ready to dive in, and you probably get very frustrated with this person that they just don't ever reveal their true feelings. But they don't know how to plunge themselves into the depths of those emotions and draw forward the words that can articulate and express it. The stingray, again, you know this is very similar to the fire ant energy. I have not read the book for these cards, so honestly don't know what they're meant to mean by the book. I'm seeing this is, again, you know, that sting in the tail. They were afraid of coming close because they're worried that they'll hurt you because they know that they're out of balance. And again, with that fox energy, they're not ready to trust. I don't feel ready to. They don't feel ready to be honest and real. They're still holding themselves back. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you for this reading. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. You all mean a lot. And I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, okay? Bye-bye.